Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're right back with you. We have, of course, we have with us the Honorable Mac Vanterpool, and he's here and he's taking the questions. We're dealing specifically with the cruise ship development, the new ideas of developing the cruise ship area, not just the dock, but the land-based side of the cruise industry as well. And we've had some interesting calls, and we've had some interesting discussion on a number of issues concerning that, but we still have a few more that we would like to hear from some of you. So continue to call.
Yeah, I wanted to clear up a few of the misconceptions because I listened to.
We have a call.
I talked to this evening.
Yes. Yeah. Good evening. You've reached Speak Your Mind. Go right ahead, please.
Good evening to all.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening.
Sam, how you do?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I was listening to the BBI forum just a while ago in a hay. That man Larry say how over by Wickhamski, they're gonna be having people from St. Martin coming here who gonna send people who is Indian to set up shops, jewelry shops, and selling all these things, while the local people over the craft of life selling coconut in t-shirts. And I tell you, that's impossible. Mm-hmm. So I bring the question to you, Mr. Vanterpool, to find out if that is true. Because I think first preference has to go to the indigenous people after Tola. You understand? We're supposed to, not people coming here competing with us. We got to compete with our competitors out there. So I ask to find out from you if that is what's going to be going on.
Carter, you're quite right. That is not so. We are developing the pair there with a number of shops. We are ensuring that a minimum of 25 local shops are in there at a very, very reduced rate, that we're going to ensure that the locals in there. I already have calls from many persons who are interested in going in there and operating. We are also going to have various kiosks that we can operate from, and locals are going to have a major role in operating within that. Yes, we are going to encourage some of the major jewelry stores worldwide and so on that are going to be in the pair, because we want to create the atmosphere that the cruise ships can, when they come, they can see and get off and spend their money. But we will have a major part of our locals in there. We've encouraged their local clothing stores, shoe stores. I got a call today from a barber shop group. We have calls from persons, even health, who want to be in there. We have had I've had for example, the bamboo shake group, who do a very nice job on pottery, and a number of persons are very interested, and I have asked them to register the interest by writing to the Port Authority, copy to our ministry, and we will get it onto the right places in terms of when we have to select the stores that are going to be in there. So all locals are going to be in there. They're going to benefit in a major way. We're going to have people in there from the coconut water sellers to the beautiful shops that we're going to have that our locals can own in there. So we are ensuring that locals will benefit from this development. So the stories that are going out there that I hear, I just wanted to be on the talk shows. I'll be on all this week correcting those stories, and I'm very open-minded to hear views and opinions. At the same time, I want to make sure that the misconceptions or the misunderstandings, like you were calling in, that you heard, I'm glad you did call, that I wanted to clear them up and correct them. So I'm grateful that you called, man.
And next time, don't call her endorsing no other show, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I'm a local craft person, and I'm looking to be out there too. I am from right here, and it's time for BV Islanders to be out there. pushing for our country.
But
We
Carla,
have to
but Carla, you heard what the
product
minister.
that we selling.
You heard what the minister said, though. You write that letter and you copy it to the Ministry of Communication and Work. Don't forget.
Write your letter of interest to the Port Authority.
The Port Authority.
Copy it to the Ministry of Communication and Work so that when we can pass that letter on to the right sources to consider shops. I am sure there's going to be a lot more requests that we have to supply, but we will consider all the requests very carefully. We are, as you know, about to redevelop the Craft Alive Center. We're going to have a very direct link with the pair to the Craft Alive Center. We're going to have a very direct arrangement where we're going to have a promotional pamphlet that recommends, and we're going to walk through the cruise ships to get as many cruise ship passengers to visit the Craft Alive Center, to go across to Main Street and look at our Main Street historical sites and so on. We have a plan in terms of moving people around to support our local businesses. So our locals are going to be in the pier, and those who are going to be in the Craft Alive Center, we're going to guarantee visits to the Craft Alive Center and to the Main Street and other places throughout the territory. We are going to have a lot more visitors on a daily basis than we had before, and we're going to ensure that our local businesses are well supported throughout the territory, especially in Craft Alive, on Main Street, through the various historical sites, on the beaches that they may visit, and along with the tours that we're going to encourage. And along the tour stops, we're going to help to develop the various tour stops that are going to be there to ensure that tourists can spend as they go along. It is our business, once the tourists get here, to ensure that they spend more than they normally spend. And I'm sure all people have those abilities to be able to make that happen.
So register your interest, huh?
I encourage everybody that Friday come out to the Mango Fest thing. We're going to be there and see the local people display all their crafts.
Yes, I will be there and I will be speaking.
All my products that I recycle.
Yes.
So come out and see the local products.
I will be there for sure.
It's a mango melee.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Minister, real quick, staying longer, getting these ships to stay longer. Obviously, that would help the local economy. People don't have to rush away from the beaches, the different areas we're going to try to develop downtown. Staying inside the pier park longer to help stimulate those businesses. What kind of guarantee are you getting from that?
We have discussed that a bit, but there has many guarantees there. What we have to look at, Sam, is a longer term with the airport development now. And hopefully we can begin to get cruise ships to start thinking of here as a point, what they call a starting point, where you can fly in the cruise ship passengers here and you can start from here. That creates a whole nother industry in terms of supplies to the ships, in terms of the ships being here longer, in terms of the passengers being on the territory for another extra 2 days or so going and coming. So that's something that we would look forward to. I have discussed that with some of the ships. They would welcome that in the future in terms of their planning, because they believe that this could be a port that they can begin their tour from, and then return here to pick up the passengers. So those are possibilities.
Okay. Also, again, just not to make this a taxi issue, when I review the plan and look at the plan, as far as staging and so forth, there doesn't seem to be much consideration based on how we currently operate, how taxi is going to be able to flow in, flow out, interchange, mix with tow operators, and be able to have enough space for enough taxis at any given time. Obviously, when we call in the morning time, we call in a rotation system, and we're placed in a particular area.
What I was just saying, you're going much further, is that there's been a lot of consideration there. We haven't spent the time, and obviously you go to one meeting, you can't spend all the time on that. But we're holding a meeting with taxi guys on Tuesday at the Moorings conference room, where that would be totally detailed.
Okay.
And I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. These guys have experience. They've done it in Jamaica, they do it in St. Thomas, they do it in St. Martin, they do it everywhere else. It doesn't have to be the same way to do it, but the experience that they have, they want to bring to the table. And so there's going to be discussion with taxi guys. You can give your views, your opinions, the disagreements, agreements, and they're going to present a much more detailed plan on Tuesday.
Okay. So
and we want to make sure you come there, and what they say you may disagree with, and encourage them to do something differently. But it's obviously they're going to be dealing with a lot more passengers than dealt with before at one time. So you can't do it the same way. It's going to be a different way. And what I've seen so far, they discussed it with me on Friday gone. I'm having another meeting with them on Monday. What I've seen so far, it seems to be a pretty interesting plan.
Okay. Well, we'll wait and Tuesday and to see.
Good evening. Good evening. If you speak your mind, go right ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Great show. The point that Sam was just raising earlier about getting the cruise ships to overnight, I think is an interesting point. I don't know whether that could be for part of the negotiation. I know you're asking for public input, but even if the ships can't overnight, I know a lot of the ships in some ports normally stay until 1 a.m. or midnight. That allows a lot of restaurants to, be able to do cruise ships. I know people wouldn't have to rush out the beaches.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
Life and entertainment or local guys would have bands and stuff that can play. And if just that adjustment, instead of leaving at 5 or 6, to be able to stay until midnight will, I think, stimulate a good portion of the economy and give us a little piece of what the overnight guests normally bring. So I just saying that that could be something that could be negotiated, or I would encourage the minister to negotiate strongly for. Thanks.
Thank you, Carla.
Carla, I'm very open on matters like those. That idea of overnighting and staying till 1 or 2 o'clock has a side issue to it. And we all know what the issue is. It's gambling.
Yes.
The ships will have to allow gambling in port. All laws don't allow that, and it's not something that we want to encourage to allow that to happen at this point. So that's the main issue there. That could be a whole other discussion, but that's an issue that the cruise ships at nights make a lot of business from the gambling on board.
On board, yeah.
And therefore they're not allowed to do that in our port.
Wow.
Well, that's one of the questions I would ask, though, and I'm pretty sure you already have the answer for me. But one of the things that come up when you start talking about cruise ship and ports and that kind of thing is a duty-free area. And I'm wondering if maybe in the plans, further down the line, that you probably might consider having a duty-free area.
Yeah, that helps us to compete with areas like St. Martin and so on in terms of how much money is left on the island. So that is something certainly that we will be open to discussing.
Okay. Good evening. You've reached Speak Your Mind. Go right ahead, please.
Yes, good evening, Sam and Honorable Minister.
Good evening,
Yes,
sir.
good evening.
Yes, first of all, I just want to thank the Minister for coming on tonight, and thank you for the tone that you set, because it's good to take these things constructively, because this is also the good of the territory. Now, I want to deal with this head tax situation, first of all. I heard the Minister quote a figure in terms of the amount of head tax that the Port Authority would receive.
Turn on your TV just a little bit, Carla.
Yeah. So the minimum figure for the head tax that the Port Authority would receive, saying that's about $5 million a year.
Yes.
And I heard you guys say that the head tax will be increased. I think it's to about $15. Am I correct?
That's correct. That's the rounded number that we're talking about. We haven't finalized it yet, but we're looking. The agreements that we're making with the main cruise ships that are willing to guarantee us the number of passengers, they're willing to guarantee us a revenue of around $15. And the two cruise ships we're negotiating with, it's a $15 with a certain rebate that they're looking at, one for $3 rebate for a short period of time, a certain period of time, and one for $2 in return for certain things that they're going to do for us in marketing. But the regular general cruise ships, we'll all pay $15 to the port.
And the government will be getting, I think I heard someone say it's about 60-40 split.
I don't know about a 60-40 split. What we're doing there is we're looking at the total amount of dollars that the port is going to receive. They're presently receiving a much lower number than we would be getting. In order to get $7 in season and $2 off season, we are looking at the Port Authority at the end of the day getting a $6 flat fee throughout the whole time, with an increase from the number that they're earning right now. I don't have all the numbers at hand, dollars-wise they receive, but it'll be a much more increased revenue that they will be receiving. So that is the way we look at it. And then after the 15 years, whatever income they're receiving, because the $15 will be increasing at the average rate of like 2% every year, which is a normal sort of inflation rate expected to increase. And so the deal will be that after the 15 years, that will be split 50-50 to the port and the investors.
Okay, I just did a little calculation based on the $5 million figure that you quoted for the port.
Connor, I don't like to use, I just use a rounded number like that. I don't have all the numbers in front of me, but it's, I was just using a number that if you, let's say you take 600,000 passengers a year, which is the 550 to 600 we expect at the beginning when everything gets moving, and you multiply that by 6, you get somewhere in the $5 million range a year.
Yeah, I mean, I won't quote you verbatim on that, but just to give another rounded figure in terms of what the Coca-Cola port partners would get if we use that same kind of range. If we go with them getting $9 head tax, they would get maybe about 7.5 million a year. And in 15 years, I calculated that to be $112.5 million. And I've been hearing that they're going to invest $75 million. Is that right? That they're going to invest $75 million?
Yes, you can say that.
So after 15 years, they would make close to I think $40 million on their investment. So why would it not be possible for us to own it outright after 15 years, and they've made a handsome little profit for themselves, and that excludes rent, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, but Cora, if you took $75 million that you have now in your pocket, right? You with me?
Yes.
And you invested it, or loaned it to someone at a certain rate. At the end of 15 years, the amount that you would have loaned or would have saved on the bank would be a lot more than $75 million by just without doing anything with it. Right? Now you put your $75 million at risk by investing it as you're doing, so you get a certain return for a certain time. But the average rate of return that you may expect should be more than that, is the point. You don't just get back what you put in and a little more at the end of the period. You're expecting to get back more based on the risk that you have taken.
I understand. So between 16 to 48 years, with it being 50-50, if we assume that all the people remain, then that would be millions upon millions. I mean, I think it's somewhere close to $500 million.
It could be in that range when you look at it, but then our port authority receive a similar amount also.
Yeah, but
for not investing anything at all, any money at all.
What about us just raising the head tax ourselves and doing the work ourselves as opposed to?
Carl, believe you me, if we had $75 million right now, and if we had the ability to make a deal with the cruise ships, that as we have been able to with these good gentlemen group, if we had that money and had the ability to do this, in other words, if you could give the cruise ship passengers that confidence to come and raise the tax based on what we're talking about and so on, if we had it, I would not want to see these guys come here to make an investment. If we had the money.
Okay.
But because we don't have it, we have to lean on someone to put it in and give them a return for what they're putting in. Now, we may argue, all of us, different levels of why and how much they should get back and so on, which is a good, reasonable argument. But at the end of the day, with the investment that these folks are making, we have negotiated to be able to get them to this point. They're putting the money in. We are not guaranteeing anything. There is no risk on our part at all with them. And for that, they expect a certain return. What we're interested in is having a fixed income for the next 15 years that we can plan our whole port developments and all the things we have to do. But in the meantime, it will happen very quickly, and therefore our businesses here there can thrive, or taxi drivers can earn better, and so on. If we went about trying to raise $75 million, or let's say even $50 million right now on a loan, it will take us about 3 years to consummate such a deal, if we were able to. Because the British government will have to sign off on it, and they're not in the mood to sign off on any borrowings right now. So we are saying that this is a deal that these people are willing to take the risk to invest, and we have to give them a certain rate of return. We can calculate numbers that they will make, but we should also look at what we will make over the period of time. And at the end of that time, I might not be around, I don't know, you might be around, but at the end of the time, whatever is there belongs to us.
Okay. I understand that point right there. The other point I would like to make is about the competition. And I heard you say at the meeting that we don't want KFC to come in here, but I really would like for you to articulate for me clearly what's the difference between a KFC and a jewelry store and a restaurant or whatever. I'm not sure what type of businesses will be coming in here. And I think maybe the public might want to know that, what type of businesses will be coming in and potentially competing against other businesses in the BVI. I would like to see the government have a clear investment policy when it comes to foreign investment. What are the rules? What are these industries are the ones we're going to protect? These industries are open to competition for everybody. I would really, and I think the public would really like to know, in terms of investing in their own businesses, whether the government will be bringing in these same businesses, and so they'll have to compete against the whole globe. Can you articulate that for me, please?
I don't know. The government doesn't necessarily right now, and it's a good idea to develop a clear investment policy of what we're going to do. It's a good thing, and we need to go to that point. What I would say is that in terms of what we encourage to come in, if there was a company here or groups of persons locally who, for example, had jewelry stores to the level that these cruise ship passengers want to buy from and so on, we should protect those jewelry stores and encourage them. What we try to do is encourage locals to team up with the bigger jewelry stores worldwide, where they can become a part of it and probably eventually become the owners. But we don't want to be naive and suggest that the cruise ship passengers are going to come and not want to shop at some of these jewelry stores, be it Rolex or be it Diamonds International or those kinds of levels. But what we want to make sure is that right next to Diamonds International, right next to Rolex, there's a local jewelry store or local store that does local the kind of local things that the people want to explore and buy from, and therefore our local businesses can be supported. So that's the thrust that we are making, that the local shops will be in the park, in the Pier Park, right up next to these other stores, and we want to encourage and find ways to help our local people to put in the right ambience in the store, to make sure we have the right product and the right sales pitch and so on, that we can compete. And it is not impossible, because a lot of the tourists come looking for the local products, but they also come looking for the Rolexes and the Diamonds International and so on. We prefer them to buy them here and leave some of the money here rather than leaving it in St. Thomas and St. Martin and other places. So the overall policy, yes, we need that, but we may stay here talking about overall investment policy for a long time and lose out, and then all the cruise ships go somewhere else, and we don't benefit from it in any way at all.
Okay, that's understood, Minister. This will be the last one, because I know other people probably want to call. I heard you at some point, I'm not sure it was during the campaign or in the House of Assembly, speaking about our banks.
Yes.
In terms of them wanting, needing to put money into the economy and investing in this state and not just being here making money. And I agree with you 100% there. And I think that perhaps could be the answer, because we have a lot of local businesses, and either to start a business or to upgrade your business, we need access to credit.
Yes.
So I would like the government to consider some real ways of helping our businesses to expand and improve through access to credit. Because some of the banks really don't want to give you any loans, and that's a real barrier to improving your business. And that will be able to put us on the level where we are able to come.
Yes, I maintain, and the government maintains, that the banks are not playing a role in helping the economy of the territory to grow. The banks are too conservative. They're just making their money from savings and not extending themselves out to help businesses to grow and develop. And when you have a license to be a bank in a territory like this, the requirement should be on you to take risks, calculated risks, of course, but you have to take risks to help the economy to grow, because that's why you're here. You're not here just to be a savings bank. And since we have been in office, there have been some things behind where we have been discussing the matter with the FSC and the banks. I know the Premier, being the Minister of Finance, have been in direct contact with a number of the banks on the issue, and he will be taking a more active role in doing so as we go along through the financial service, the financial secretary and others, to make sure that these banks play their role, because we are not happy that they're playing their role. We also want to put a lot more effort into developing our own national bank, so that our own national bank can be a lot more proactive with the government standing behind them to help to develop the territory. So there's some things that we are doing there that, I'm sure the Minister of Finance will reveal as we go along, but we are working on the matter. The banks, we are very dissatisfied that the banks are not playing their role. We are not happy that they're competing in terms of interest rates and so on, but even as close as St. Thomas and Puerto Rico. I think our people are being taken for a ride by the banks, and we have to clamp down on it. So it's not something that we have forgotten. We are working on it in certain ways, and hopefully we'll see fruits of it.
But that's some good news. That's some very good news, Minister, because that is something that I'm also concerned about. And just today I was speaking with someone. I was making reference that the banks in other places where you can call on the phone and open an account. Here you can't even open an account.
You take forever.
You have to have 2 letters from 2 employers. You have to bring 2 phone bills and 2 electricity bills.
Yep.
And then after all of that, you still may not get an account open. So we really need to look at this 30-year way we've been doing banking in the territory and move it to another level.
Well, what I'd like to encourage is a real bank to come to the territory, because I keep saying that we don't have any real banks here yet.
Okay.
The banks are getting away with a lot, and we need a bank to come to the territory who will be willing to take chances and invest in territory development.
And show some competition.
And so we are still out there looking for an HSBC, Hong Kong Shanghai Bank, or Deutsche Bank, or one of those banks that invest real money, and I will go every step of the way to find what I call a real bank to come to the territory, or 2 of them.
Well, thank you. Carlos left?
No, the callers already left.
Well, that was a good call.
That was a good call, yes.
So obviously, is there how close are we to maybe signing a deal, Minister, you think?
Well, what we did, we wanted to give some time for the public to weigh in. And therefore, that's why we had a meeting some days ago. We threw out a lot of information. I'm hearing people saying that they don't have a copy of the document in front of them, and therefore they don't know what's in the document. Well, that's what I'm here for. I'm the minister. Right. What I'm giving you is a lot of information that's in the document. Yeah. There's nothing hidden, but legally you can't give these documents out like that. Yeah. So, but the information I'm giving you is information that you can use, and there's nothing hiding. The main information about the document that we are looking at is coming from me. Whatever you hear me say, that's the crux of the matter. There's a lease for 48 years. There's an income stream that we're talking about. The port will share in it, and these people will share in it, and we have secured spaces in the development for locals. We are looking at all those issues, and that's the crux of the deal that we're talking about. And after 15 years, we're able to buy back the project if you want to. Personally, I would not suggest that, because you're going to invest, you will be investing money that you'll be taking a risk with again that you may not need to. But it's a choice that we will have. Some younger person who at that time will make those decisions. But after 15 years and every 5 years thereafter, you have an option to buy out the investors.
Some younger premier, you mean?
Some younger premier, yeah.
Good evening, caller. You speak your mind. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good evening, Courtney, Sam, Honorable Minister.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Enjoying the discussion very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question and then a comment. My question is, we've heard from Carlos earlier talking talking about the concern of overcrowding with the expected increase in passengers. So to that end, Mr. Minister, I was wondering if there was any discussions being had at this point that would try to spread out the arrival of the vessels instead of only between November and, let's say, May. We already know we have a low arrival period in the summer. That could help to spread out some of the arrivals and help to ease some of the overcrowded concerns. Has there been any discussions to that end?
Yes, in fact, each ship that we're discussing with, and a number of these ships are looking at the Caribbean, despite the weather and the hurricane season. A number of them believe that some of the ships might be even safer in some areas in the Caribbean, especially these bigger ships that they believe that they can secure themselves more. So they are begin to look at how they can encourage more cruise ship business in the summer. And rather than taking the ships from here and taking them to the Mediterranean or to some other parts of the world, in the summer they want to keep them in this area all year round. So those are some discussions we're having with them. They're looking at other places like Santo Domingo, where they want to have ports, and Puerto Rico and other places. But they are looking at how they can keep these ships in the Caribbean all year round as much as possible. That's a discussion that they're having. We let them know that we will be willing to do whatever it takes to help them to come here year round. The other thing is that they normally most of them want to be here based on the itinerary Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. This is the itinerary where most of them leave from Miami. Well, we're trying to arrange and so that they can have stops here where they may have a 10-day cruise from New York, and therefore they can end up coming here on Monday or Friday or Saturday rather than all of them being here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, to spread it out a bit more. So those are things that we're doing to create that atmosphere. Some may have their home port in Santo Domingo, their home port in Puerto Rico, as Royal have some, so they can make a stop here, leaving Sunday and arriving here probably Monday rather than coming here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So we're trying to spread out like that, but what we will be able to do is be able to have a spread over the entire week rather than the whole crowd being here in 3 days of the week.
Okay, thank you for that. My comment quickly is that I heard you mention the symposium that's going to come up to encourage and expose local business people to the different opportunities. And one of the feelings that I have that may be a bit unpopular, especially with the taxi associations, is that I think the taxi associations need to start thinking outside the box. If we're talking about moving a number of people on the marine front, why can't the taxi association start thinking about becoming players in marine taxiing and not everybody doing safari buses and custom vans? So that's my comment, and I'll listen to the discussion. Thank you very much.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Carl. The one thing I want to throw out here, which could be an interesting discussion point again. I like to short teasers. Courtney in New York and other places, they used to have a lot of various competitors in the ferry business and everything, and then they got together and created a ferry line that all of those who were in the business joined and were able to develop better vessels and create a better atmosphere for passengers. This is something you need to think about here in the BVI, whether we're going to continue operating where we are, whether we're going to change. And my brother would say, Pastor Alvarez, you're going to change your modus operandi. But it's something that you got to think about, and I believe that the operators are at a point where they want to think about that.
I think it was Farrelly in St. Thomas that got the St. John ferries.
That whole similar kind of thing I'm talking about.
Similar type of thing.
So we need to start thinking about that and start looking at direction, and that will become a part of this cruise ship business, where you'll be able to have a ferry line that will move people around, that many people can be vested in.
I'm sold on the idea already.
Yes.
Even a token as the mode of transportation rather than buying a ticket, where you can use the token from one line to any of the lines,
exactly.
and that way you wouldn't get stuck in one place. You'll be able to travel more freely throughout the territory. But that's
something to come. We should throw the ideas and see how people are willing to be open-minded.
Yeah. And I think the government can play a real role in that area. You have a call. Good evening. You're speaking mind. Go right ahead, please.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Mr. Minister, I'm very happy to see that we're putting some money into the development of Rural Town and the cruise ship industry on a whole. I'm very, very happy about that.
Thank you.
But you're welcome. I'm a little worried because we're spending millions of dollars to make this place really nice, and there's some people that work in this industry that don't do it justice. They're rude to the customers, outright flat rude, and they don't make no apologies. I went to a restaurant with a group of friends, and we went after work to have drinks. And we're a bunch of mothers. We can't just leave work and go straight.
Right.
We have to pick up kids, drop by grandmother, drop here, drop there. So we were all reaching to this restaurant at different times. So every time a person or two come in, they would order a drink. And it just so happens that all of us kept ordering either a daiquiri, a shake, or a pina colada. So the bartender had to keep rinsing out the blender and making as our request went. And she was so rude. You know, it was like 8 of us, and I think 6 of us was there so far. And she was so rude with her comment, and she told the waitress, plain out, they need to make up their mind what the hell it is they want, because I ain't in this with them. And I was like, what?
And
I told my friends, I said, listen, call the other 2 and tell them meet us at XY. When our drinks finish, we out of here. Just so.
And you spending your hat on US dollars.
You ain't hearing. Now, if I'm a local and I get in treat like that, what happens to the tourist who is a stranger, who don't have no connections there? They're not going to come back. When somebody spend $3,000 on a ticket from California to come all the way to Tortola, and I mean, just walking through that little market we have there in front of the government complex where all those people are in those tickets. Those people to be so rude to those tourists, some of them are so rude, you know, because sometimes I stood there, because I have a friend there, I stood there and I watched a vendor, the tourist lady came, and she was looking at some t-shirts, and she couldn't make up her mind. And the vendor said to her, Miss, can I help you? And she said, no, I'm just looking. You know, but as she's looking, she's opening this pile of shirt, and she's opening that pile of shirt. Just looking, trying to make up her mind, I guess. Whatever, you know how we shop.
Right.
Handling the merchandise. And the vendor was so upset. What the hell you keep turning up my t-shirt them for? Every minute I gotta be fixing with a dirty hand. I was so embarrassed. The lady just picked up her bag and she walked away. So I just want to say, Mr. Minister, maybe this ain't in your area, because it isn't in your area, but if we're gonna spend all this money, fix up this place and make this place nice and things, we need to talk to some of these people who work in these places. They don't handle the people right. And if I have a bad experience, I'm not coming back. I don't care what you tell me. My experience is my experience. We have people that come here because their friends came here, told them they had a wonderful time, so they come for themselves to have the same wonderful time. And we can't have people here just being rude and obnoxious to the people. Yes, they're disgusting. I worked in the tourism industry for years. That's how I paid for college. I was a waitress. And they're disgusting, but guess what? That's your job.
Right.
It's your job to be running up and down behind them. That's your job. You know, if you don't like it, leave it. But don't make people, you know, I mean, they're representing us. When a tourist meets somebody here, they don't know if that person is a native, a belong, they don't know what they are. All they could say is, I went to the BVI and the people them there XYZ. So
You're
they need to represent better, whether you're from here or not, because I know I have a lot of them who are from here. They just come to make money and they go. So they don't really care about what happens here. But they have to care.
You're making a good point.
Because at the end of the day, this is where their money coming from.
You're making a good point, and it's all interrelated. And one of the callers that called before said that we have to upgrade the infrastructure as well. All of that is all related, because it's one product that we're selling. We're selling one tourism product. It has a good infrastructure. You have to have proper facilities, and you have to have good and courteous service, or else the people are not going to come back. You're absolutely right.
100%. 100%. Anyway, I'm going to hang up in case somebody else trying to get you.
Thank you for calling.
And this is a very crucial area, and it's very distressing because I don't know why people don't understand that what they're doing is important for their salary. If they discourage the people from coming.
Good evening. You speak your mind. Go right ahead, please.
Good night again.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
I was listening to the minister and I heard that this agreement going to be for 48 years. And I said, I'm going to say, but Lord, by water only 16 years. And if this is 48 years, Mr. Vanterpool going to be gone, I going to be gone, and he going to leave my children them. This is 3 generations here.
But what you have to understand, you don't compare things like that, because by water agreement is something that you're spending money for. This is an agreement where you're going to be making money. It's not, in other words, this is the port really. The port is 50% of this agreement, you know. So this is really the port making money. It's not anything we're going to spend money to pay for water. We are developing a situation where, and the lease on the land is where the agreement we're talking about 48 years. The lease of the land is only to allow the people to put the buildings down there and operate for this period. The port is going to be a part of that, 50% of it. So it's not like they're giving away the land or anything for that period of time. You understand that? What you're getting over that 48 years is a guaranteed income to the government and to the port. So don't look at it as if it's like a by-water agreement. The by-water agreement is where you're going to be paying money out for water for a 16-year period. This is an agreement where you're going to be collecting money and guaranteeing income to the Port Authority and to the government for that period of time, guaranteeing it. So you have a situation where you'll be gaining from it and not losing. In the meantime, the land has not gone anywhere. It's still your land. It's still our land. Okay, so don't worry, don't get misled by that. It's still our land. Our Port Authority is going to be very much involved in controlling it. And if these people get up and go, they just have to leave our land and leave what's on it. It's still our land. Okay, so don't get worried and misled by the 48-year story.
I going to be gone and my children are going to be here left in there.
But they're going to be here enjoying the benefits of it. Because it's income that you're making. It's not money we're spending.
I hope so.
So it's different from the by-water deal. I want to make sure. I'm glad you brought it up because I heard on some of the talk shows about that. It's totally different from the by-water deal. It's a deal where we are having some investors invest some money that we, the people, can benefit from it with income over the next period, 48-year period, and be guaranteed, especially for 15 years of that, a certain level of income that we can take. I want to develop the Western Port. There's a problem down there. I want to develop the Rotown Jetty. I want to develop Virgin Gorda. There's a problem over there whenever I go over there. You have the problem with the passengers and the cargo. Our cargo port have to be expanded. We have to be able to bring in more cargo into the territory to make more business for the territory. But in order to do that, we have to have income coming, and this cruise ship port is going to help to support all of that.
Okay.
So don't get worried about the 48 years. Our land is still here. Nobody isn't going anywhere with it, and we don't have any lien against it. No bank anywhere in the world can take it because somebody didn't pay. There's no liens on the deal.
Okay.
So your land is here. Don't worry, it's not going anywhere.
Okay.
Thanks for calling it. That's a good point to bring up. I'm glad you brought it up.
So just to squash some of the fares again, the BVI port is in partnership 50%. They'll help collect the revenue. They're going to be responsible for revenue collecting.
The Port Authority and the group, there's going to be a management team that will be involved. The Port Authority will be involved with that, and they will be managing what's happening. We're going to know every step of what happens on that pier.
So you're saying also in the initial stage from get-go.
Let me make it clear though, Sam, before you go. From a sovereignty standpoint, the actual pier, the port where the ships come in, is only the Port Authority controlling that. These people are helping to invest money in it, but they don't have control over it.
Port controls that.
The Port Authority controls that. The Port Authority decides which ships come in, who can't come, what's the security on the dock,
what kind of pilot
you're using. That's the Port Authority.
That was the main concern.
The land side is where there's a partnership in terms of how they're going to operate on the land side.
Okay.
I want to make sure that's
the revenue for that will be collected based on that body you establish.
That body will control it. That body who goes in there is not going to be determined just by these external people. Who goes in there is going to be determined by this group where the port is going to be a part of.
And that group will be a partnership of us, BVI Islanders, locals, and the investors.
So there's going to be that group in there. And by the way, the Port Authority team is going to have the final sign-offs on anything.
And then the money, again, just to be clear on this, the money that's being collected, the guarantee from the 2 ships and the additional ships there's going to be increased tax on those head tax on those ships as well, the passengers from those ships.
Yes, all the ships.
So
all the
from the get-go.
all the ships are prepared to
So
pay.
that's the extra income that you're projecting.
Right.
That adds up to the $5 million because you're projecting about 275 from those other ships total.
Yeah, I would say, Sam, based on what I've heard discussed, we will begin with about 550,000 passengers.
Total.
550,000 passengers total for the first couple of years, year two. But based on what we are seeing and discussing with other ships, you're going to get up to about 700,000 passengers very quickly on a yearly basis.
Well, let's not throw that out because people might get scared.
No, and it's how we're going to disperse them and so on. But it's going to be in that range. And you know, if you're getting 425,000 between Disney and NCL. Disney is a small operation.
Yeah.
They're only providing 75,000. But between Royal, Carnival, and the other cruise lines that we're dealing with, you're going to get a bigger number.
So we're working real hard, Mark. Again, this is something that really bothering the whole industry, not just taxi, but the summertime. The summer business is the problem.
Let me put it this way. This deal is going to definitely have a marked difference in the summer business than you have now. How much it is, I can't say yet, but we're working hard to make sure it's a steady business that we will get. I know we definitely have the arrangement where Norwegian Cruise wants to be here all year round, and others.
We're going to take a call. Good evening. You speak your mind. Go right ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I just want to expand a little bit on what the former caller said about the taxi should start thinking outside the box. I just want to make a comment. I believe that taxi people should now start looking instead as taxi men. It's just trying to get into the business of transportation.
Great.
To get into transportation business, then they could start looking to expand whether it's on land, it's on water. But to do that, they're going to need to reconsider that federation and get strong organization to be able to petition the government for whatever it is that they need. Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much for that.
Yeah, that's a very interesting call because you know, I think we got to stop looking individually, as he's saying, get outside of the box and start looking at how we can better benefit from what is going to be happening.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that there's a lot of entrepreneurship, you know, out there, and the more we change, we have another call. Good evening. You're speaking mind. Go ahead, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Courtney, and Matt Vanterpool.
Good evening to you.
Good evening.
And good afternoon, Uncle Sam.
Yeah, what's going on?
This program is exciting.
Okay.
I respect the Honorable Matt Vanterpool for leaving one show to the other show. He's really the action man.
This is how it is,
He's
you know.
incredible. He's incredible. And the program is good, and I think we up with all the talk now, and it's time to let me do this thing. This was Honorable Mark Vanterpool campaign with let me do this thing. It taking too long now. This was done 15 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mark, you continue sending out contribution to the public and leaving leaving them separate the rumors from the truth. And I think that was very important for everyone to get the message. And I think I respect the Honorable Mark Vanterpool for coming on the show tonight to at least get rid of the rumors, put the rumors in the garbage.
To clear the air, clear the air on all the issues.
Clear the air on all the issues.
Yes.
And I respect Sam for the big contribution because that's his field and making his finance and paying his bill as well as...
I ask a quick question, Carlo. Are you a vendor?
Yeah, as a vendor.
Do you see yourself benefiting from what we're about to do?
Well, we were benefiting from before it fall apart.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do now? We're only going to get us back on track how it used to be.
Right.
So I think we're looking forward for that.
Okay.
I heard an issue from a lady calling on our business saying that the cruise ship passengers run our customers away. Actually, you answer her very professionally, Honorable Mark Vanterpool, by letting her know. You're trying to balance it. I respect your answer on that. But right now, the cruise ship, we need a cruise ship to help out with the overnight tourists. The overnight tourists cannot do it. Bills are higher, more entrepreneurs, and if you don't create work for the people of the country, we're going to fall apart. The economy is standstill. So, Honorable Mark Vanterpool and the rest of the NDP crew, y'all keep up doing what y'all doing, and let's do this thing. We start out, let's do this thing, well, let me finish this thing.
Okay, my brother. Thank
Ladies
you.
and gentlemen.
Thank
Carla,
you.
one of the things you raised though is that you said 15 years ago, and if you remember when we built the cruise pier before, it was too small and we had to expand it, and then we had to expand it again. And there was always, people opposed to the idea of having the cruise ship pier in the first place. So, it's always more expensive to, build something and then have to rebuild it and have to rebuild it and have to rebuild it. So, we should learn from our mistakes, I think. What's your take on that?
Well, I congratulate the show tonight. They were very excited, and I respect the Honorable Mark Vanterpool for clearing up his end and letting the public know direct what it's all about from hearing gossip.
Yeah.
So that's a big A plus.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good night. Good night.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
good
you,
night.
Carla.
Courtney, I just want to clear up something because I did hear one of the shows, one of the guests on the show suggesting that we are saying that nobody can build any buildings out near the cruise ship development higher than 2 floors.
Okay.
And that is not so at all, and that's a misconception. It was suggested that the person who made the presentation with me last time said so, and if he did, I want to apologize, but because, in fact, I don't think it was so at all. I would have to defend him. I think there was someone in the audience who asked the question and suggested that taller buildings in that area might not be the best thing, but that is not anything to do with the cruise ship development. Persons are allowed under town planning development to build 6-floor buildings on Wickham Ski.
Okay.
And if they want to build them around the cruise ship dock at that height, it's up to them. It's up people's, that's their right and the town planning, and they will work that out. But the buildings in the cruise ship pier, we are not building them taller than 2 floors, with probably an attic and so on. And we're trying to create it in the atmosphere of what our old streets used to look like and so on.
The vernacular.
Right. But the other thing I want to make sure we understand in terms of opportunities, there's a simple opportunity in there that people seem to be taken quietly and not for granted. The possibility of being involved in the entertainment side of that development is a new opportunity that's going to present itself. Those persons who are accustomed to being mokajumbis, for example, rather than just doing it for fun, it can become a business for them. It can become an employment for them on a daily basis. The person who normally do the costume show and so on at festival, we are creating an atmosphere in a daily basis where they can have a job similar to what you will do in Disney, where you can have a job on a daily basis entertaining the people and you'll be paid for it.
I have a text, maybe you might want to answer though. How could a local guarantee its idea wouldn't be shared and stolen if they're right now to secure a space within the development? Very good question.
That's good forward thinking, and that's. I think the idea should be that at this point, I'm saying people should register their interests, and later on we sit down with them and discuss what they want to do and be able to accommodate them.
Who did they register with?
My view at this point is to write to the Port Authority, copy to the Ministry of Communication Works and perhaps Trade, so that when we put it all together, those groups can put it to the right.
One other quick one for you, Matt. He said, please don't forget to go back on the subject of high electricity bills surcharge with Honorable Mac. Thanks. I don't know if you have it.
We don't have much time, but that's a subject I'm going to be talking about very shortly.
We're going to bring you back on.
And I'll come back on showing that because it's a subject I want you to bring me on to discuss the whole electricity story.
Yeah, we're going to talk about
and energy, because it's a big topic, and the person is right. We need to see how we can get bills down.
How soon can people start writing and maybe how soon are you going to
If I
start?
was a person who's interested, I would
Do it
write
right
it
now.
right away.
Right away.
You know, it's register interest.
Register interest. Yeah.
And get it in there so that we can have you on file, and when we're ready to start talking to people, we can get you in. But also, the symposium we're talking about and the expo, I don't know what dates we're going to look at, probably after the festival, so when we have more time, but I will encourage anyone, as many persons as possible, to come to that and look at the possibilities.
Yes.
And out of that, you'll have a lot more persons interested.
Good. So again, last question for me. Well, second to last. How close are we to a deal?
I don't want to put time on it yet. It's somewhere, Sam, going to be in the next 30 to 60 days.
So we're still in conversation, we're still in negotiation. Is there still room for adjustment?
Yes, there is. We've since our last public meeting, we've taken comments into view. We have had persons who's been registering them and noting them. We have a social impact study that we're using, and that is where those comments are going in. That study with views and comments, like from these shows, from the meeting that we had, from call-ins and so on, that study is going to be presented to the cabinet, so that when we are considering the final decisions, those comments will be brought forward. So we're looking at all that. And so, at some point in the next, I would say 60 days, we will be trying to finalize the whole deal. Probably within 30 days, it will be taken to the cabinet. Somewhere within now and the next 30 days, and then following that, we will be able to review what position we'll take going forward.
All right, just
the
real
main
quick.
thing is that whether or not this deal is signed, we're going to extend the dock
Yes.
through the Port Authority. Before the year's ended, we're going to start extending that.
Well, that's the essential part right there.
Yeah.
The extension and widening.
Extension and widening is going to happen
In Jersey.
whether there's an agreement or not. We are moving in that
A
direction.
landside deal.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, one of the things that someone might ask about the project, though, is what would it cost? You know, what would it cost if it wasn't doing something like this, and you have to meet the next 15-year expansion for the port? What would it cost? And I think that's an argument that could be, that can be lined up side and side with the agreement that's going to be signed.
You mean what would it cost for this particular dock, or you mean ports generally?
The ports generally.
Yeah, that's an interesting discussion.
Yeah. Good evening. You speak your mind. Go right ahead, please.
Okay, I just want to ask you one question to Mr. Minister, because we listen, the most beautiful thing on this island is the view. Any point you drive into Tola, you can see the view because the bush is blocking the view of the beautiful river Green Island. So, what is Mr. Minister going to resolve that problem there?
Sorry, what do you say was blocking the view?
The bushes and stuff.
Oh, yes,
Around the
okay.
island.
It's a good question. Good
Yes.
point. Yes, Scholar, that's a good question. We are looking at manicuring the trees, but not only that, we are looking at how we can widen the roads on the hillsides and be able to have better pull-offs and better viewpoints and so on. So it's a whole thing we're using, but we are beginning to look at how we can constantly maintain the trees and so on, manicuring them in the best way possible without just destroying them totally. So that's something that is a good point you raised, and it's something that the Tourist Board, along with the Ministry of Communication and Works and others, are looking at maintaining them. So it's a good point you raised. Thank you.
Yeah, well, Honorable, I think if you want to add anything else to let our viewers know, because we've been asked to.
Yeah, I just want to say that I appreciate you guys having me on tonight. I want to let the viewers know that we're open to their comments. We want to thank them for the comments so far, whether it's in favor or not in favor. We appreciate them, and we over the next several weeks will be considering all the views that are put forward. The whole Rotown development, we have going to have some meetings in end of July, and then in later on in the year, I'll be having some what they call some 4th districts meeting. I was hoping to do it before festival, but we're looking at doing it following that. And so we want to get people's views on how we go forward. The whole of Main Street discussion is something we want to talk about with the public, with our Main Street vendors and shop owners and so on. But we are looking to spur the economy on. The Premier is doing all he can. He's asked us to look at our areas, and so we want to be able to do that because we have to raise funds to be able to accomplish our education development goals, or health development goals, or infrastructure development goals. And so we are doing everything that we can, and I want to thank the public for their input and suggestions that they're having on this project. And we look forward to ensuring that the misconceptions that are coming out there, I want to be able to clear them up as much as possible. I don't have any disagreements with persons who have different views, but I want to make sure there aren't any misconceptions. So as much as possible, if I can clear those up. I heard some things tonight on one of the talk shows that I couldn't believe were coming out in terms of what we're doing and what we may have said, and we haven't said a lot of those things. So we want to make sure people are clear and understanding where we're going, what we're doing. But I want to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to talk with the public.
Of course, that's what we say our show is all about. You say it's the people's show.
Yeah.
And once we're here representing the people, I think we have an obligation to ensure that they get best quality.
Yes, and I am prepared to come back at any time and talk about anything to do with our ministry, so please feel free.
And first-hand information is better than second-hand information.
Yes, certainly indeed.
Yeah, and we're going to have to try to wrap up the show now. Sam, I better start with you since you had Mr. Keto Reimer here earlier.
Well, all in all, Courtney, Keto was here earlier. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can, again, tomorrow we have the Reggae Express. Keto is the new energetic Keto. He's local. He's a BV Islander. He's a son of the soil. We want you guys to go out and support him. It's also for charitable fundraising event to raise funds for some of the less fortunate folks in Haiti. So it's at Nanny Key starting tomorrow at 2 o'clock. 2 until whenever it gets dark and you're tired, your kids are tired, sleeping, and ready to go home. So go out and support them. The last thing I just want to say, Mr. Minister, again, thank you so much for coming out. I fully endorse the project. I think cruise industry is something that's been neglected for a long time. But my only concerns is that, all of those concerns that some other people are also having is that security and safety, ownership. Of course, BV Islanders are proud people. So that's our foremost important thing. And I know you're a man, you all about ownership, local ownership as well. So I really don't have a whole lot of fear in that. For the transportation specialist, this is my biggest concern, is that transportation as a whole, yes, we should be thinking about it in a holistic way. But at the same time, individually, because we are only individuals that go to the cruise ship dock, and our only opportunity to make any money is on an individual basis. Currently, we have access to the customers. We have we could provide tours, individual tours. We have a dispatch system. Maybe I didn't see it. It wasn't explained clearly, but I don't see that on the plan. And you said Tuesday we'll have that opportunity to maybe voice our concern more on that, or I will. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in the transportation business, come on out. Tuesday, what time?
Tuesday at 7 at the Moorings Conference Room.
Tuesday, 7 Moorings Conference Room. I guess this would be another opportunity for the transportation specialists, the taxi guys, to come out and fully take this thing on to see and make sure that we're part of the development and the growth. So, thank you again, Minister.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Honorable Mark and
you can still say Mark in the Courtney. We're still schoolmates.
Okay.
Courtney that old, huh?
I have to say Honorable because you on the title. And Sam, we've had very good discussion about the cruise ship development. We talked a bit about the widening and the strengthening of the cruise pier, and we were able to talk with the minister about the cruise park that is going to be right next to it, and we got some technical information about the financing of it and the amount of shops that will be there and how it will be organized. We got first-hand information from the minister. We talked a bit about further development of tourist sites, and we were told, if you're interested, you can write directly to the BVI Port Authority, and of course copy it to the ministry and copy it to the Trade Department. If you're interested in being a part of this whole cruise part. We touched a little bit about banking, and of course the minister expressed his opinion about the fact that the banks need to be a little bit more proactive with the businesses and BVI a lot more. He said a lot more. And we were able to clear up a misconception about the number of floors that we could have out at the cruise ship dock. 2 floors is not so. The rest of Wickham's Key, except for the cruise ship pack that's going to be there, which is going to be 2 floors to look like the vernacular architecture of the Caribbean, but the rest of it would fall under the regular town and planning guidelines, which call for 6 floors. Then we
6 or less.
6 or less. It was 6 is the maximum. I think that's allowed. And we also got in there that scooter rentals and car rentals will be part of this thing as well. So we really thank the minister for coming and clearing up all these issues and putting all these ideas to rest with our citizens who feel that the project is one way or another different from how it's being planned. And of course, it's always good to hear from the minister himself on issues like this, so that you could have good clarification on exactly what is happening. So we thank you very much for coming.
Thank you indeed.
On the show with us.
Thank you, guys.
And Sam, unless you have anything else?
That's it.
That's it? Okay, well, as usual, we thank everyone for looking at the show and enjoying us, right in your living room. And
before you go, Courtney, real quick.
Okay.
To the folks in Virgin Gorda, obviously they're faced with some serious issues up there. While we have the minister, I know it's probably not your subject area, but please, man, if you guys can do something with the clinic, not build a new hospital, but maybe have doctors round the clock on holidays and on weekends. It seems to be that's when the most problems are happening. Whatever little bit of fun extra we can get to station another doctor over there, we really need to look at that.
I know it's something that the Minister of Health, in fact, was in discussion in the caucus group recently having about that same situation. So we're looking at that. We also moving one of the customs boats that were located here. We're going to station in Virgin Gorda for that same purpose. It's going to be under the Ministry of Health's auspices. And but I also know that the project team who's planning the clinic up there is hard at work at it. All the persons who have been involved. There's been a bid out about the design and everything already. I think the bids have come in and they're about to appoint somebody to move on in that direction. So the clinic, the mini hospital there is on the move, and the minister is very passionate about that.
So not to add any other pressure, but as well, Josephine Dyke and Nanigada. So
yes, definitely.
Emergency evacuation.
And I did hear you earlier about the person who would sit in the clinic for that long period of time.
Yeah.
I will share that with my colleagues this week.
Yeah,
all right, help is on the way.
We've had some distressing calls about that situation in the past.
Yes.
So thank you. Well, fellas, we had a very good show, and of course we don't like to leave, but we have to go. And I would like to say at this point, God bless these Virgin Islands and the people that live in it, and we will see you again next week.